Good day, everyone. Hope things are going well for you. Hope things are nice. Hope you're enjoying equations. And here we go. We're going to do some more equations today. What's better than an equal sign, right? Um, anyway, let's see. Let's get me out of the way and let's talk. Well, let's talk a little bit about equations. You did add and subtract equations yesterday, and today we're going to do a little bit of multiply and divide equations. And why is that? Well, I just had a thought that I think I'll share. I think I'll share this before we work on the work, just so you can see what we're trying to accomplish. And those add and subtract equations we did before, what we're trying to do is we're trying to just get to zero. We're trying to get that variable all by itself and get everything else out of the way. Whereas today we're going to try to get to 1. Let me explain what I mean by that. Yesterday we had equations. We might have had x plus 3 equals 9. And we're trying to find out what x is all by itself. So we're trying to get this thing just completely gone. This 3 is added on, so we're trying to get rid of it. Let's just subtract it off, get it to 0. And with the equal sign, we have to do it on both sides. So we're left with, on this side, x plus 0. And on this side, we're left with your calculator, get to 6. And then just x is 6. So yesterday with add and subtract problems, we were trying to get to 0. M minus 4.2 is 6.1. So to get this to 0, to get this minus 4.2 undone, to do the opposite, we add 4.2 and add 4.2. That goes to 0. So we're just left with m on this side of the equal sign, and on this side we're left with 10.3. So that was what we were doing yesterday. Today, you're going to have items multiplied or divided onto, and let's say we've got j. You're going to have a number multiplied onto it. Let's say 6.3 is multiplied onto it, and let's say it equals 29.1. Or you might have, let's say the letter c is the variable. You might have 5.1 divided onto it, and when you do that, you get negative 2.3. So we're going to have numbers that are multiplied and divided onto the, sorry about that, multiplied, you'll find the 5.1 divided. So when we have numbers that are multiplied on or divided on, how do we get rid of those? The exact same way we got rid of the add and subtract. Excuse me, got an Oreo stuck in my mouth. 6.3 is multiplied onto the j. We talked about how if they're sitting right next to each other, that means multiplication. So how do you undo multiplication? We're undoing PEMDAS, so you do the opposite of multiplication. So we divide off the number that's multiplied on and divide it off of both sides. Here's what that accomplishes. This right here has now undone, has undone the 6.3 that's multiplied on, because that just equals 1, remember? Any number divided by itself is 1. So j now becomes whatever 29.1 divided by 6.3 is. And the calculator takes us there. 29.1 divided by 6.3. If you would have multiplied it by, if you would have done it as a fraction, 29.1 divided by 6.3, exact same situation. Sure goes on for a while. What do we got? 4.619. And if the instructions don't say anything, go out for a while and then just do ... Okay, and then here, the same thing with the division problem. If we have a 5.1 that's divided onto the c, we want to get that c all by itself. So just like here, we were able to get a 1 onto the j, and we never write it because we're lazy and we don't want to take the time. The way to get rid of this divided by 5.1 is by multiplying by 5.1 on both sides of the equation. Because when you multiply this by 5.1, those both go to 1. So it's just 1c, if we write the 1, equals whatever negative 2.3 times 5.1 is. And you'll notice that I'm writing this number. This is the first number that we enter into the calculator. So negative 2.3 times 5.1. Negative 11.73. There we go. So on these types of problems, we're working through getting the variable by itself. But on this, the way to get by itself is to turn this number into 1 or turn this number into 1. Whereas yesterday we were turning it into 0. So if we were to try a couple, let's say on this side we've got some, let's say we've got a time, we'll do 5 and 7. We've got this that's multiplied on. So to get rid of this 70s, negative 77 that's multiplied on, we divide it off, or we divide it so it goes to 1. And divide it here. When we do that, we're left with V, that's just 1V, equals whatever that is. Negative 64, 68 divided by negative 67. Negative 64, 68 divided by negative 77. Calculator does the hard part. We're left at 84. V equals 84. This V number right here is 84. I could put 84 in there. Negative 77 times 84, and we'd get that number. Okay, on 7. V divided by 70 is negative 58. So to get the V alone, we undo this divided by 70. So we're going to multiply that by 70 and multiply this by 70. So it's negative 58 times 70. These go to 1, so it's just V equals whatever that is. And I have no idea what that is. But the calculator does. Whoops. Negative 4060. V is negative 4060. And it's the same even if you're working with decimals, no matter what numbers you're working with, this is what's going to happen. So on 55, if this 22.6 is divided off, we multiply that side of the equation by 22.6, and we multiply this part by 22.6. So this part right here, these numbers go to 1. X becomes 18.4 times 22.6. Without the glare is 415.84. And if you have something where a number is multiplied onto the P, just like we did before, the process is always the same. Undo that operation. Undo the multiplication by the opposite. Divide by 3454. Write it out to keep it straight. The equations will eventually get complicated. So we write it out now to keep it clear. 673.53 by 3454. And if I type it in the calculator correctly, negative 19.5, P is negative 19.5. These last two right here are just some especially hard ones. Give them a shot if you'd like. They're a little difficult, and I'm not spending much time today talking about them. But the point of today is just undoing the operation, just like we did yesterday. You're undoing the operation to get a number to 1 instead of to 0. So the opposite of multiply is divide. The opposite of divide is multiply, and it works. That process works with integers, fractions, with all things. Give it a shot. Give this lesson worksheet a shot. There's answers there to help you further down in the module, and then do today's assignment, which is those 4 problems that you'll find below this video. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day.